Hi, folks. You know, the only thing more protected than a bald eagle right now is someone who broke federal law to rent an apartment in California. We're living in a time where crime is compassion and trespassing is just an undocumented tour. Democrats, especially here in California, aren't just jumping the shark. They're housing it rent-free while charging you for the utilities. In today's clips, we'll dive into the latest left-wing lunacy, eviction moratorium for illegal immigrants. Yes, that's right. They already get free health care. Why not have citizens being told to sit down and shut up while the state coddles lawbreakers and punishes landlords for wanting to, get paid? Welcome to progressive politics, where everything is backwards, bankrupt, and somehow still smug about it. Let's roll the tape.
The local SEIU 721 labor union, along with CLU and the tenants union, are asking the LA City Council to pass an emergency protection to help families who may face eviction due to the immigration raids. The unions say many families may not be able to cover rent due to a family member who may have been taken by ICE, or who have family who may not be able to leave their homes due to fear of kidnapping. The groups claim Latinos make up majority of renters in the city of LA. They also say local residents have had enough to deal with, from COVID to the economic crisis and our deadly firestorm. Now the raids are creating unnecessary fear.
Nowadays, you don't know who's a cop, who's an ICE agent, now who's a bounty hunter. And now I can be dressed as a cop.
Exactly.
And just go kidnap people.
No matter what your legal status it is right now,
that's a crime.
We are all in fear. I had mentioned earlier, I'm a naturalized citizen, but my daughter is a born USA citizen and she's scared.
While groups are making these demands, the LA City Council is looking to take action against the federal government due to the immigration raids. Last week, 7 city council members signed a proposal asking the city attorney to take immediate legal action to protect people from being racially profiled or unlawfully detained. Now, the proposed lawsuit still has to head to 3 council committees for consideration. The full council is expected to vote by the end of the week.
And they will likely vote without reading it, because the majority of our city council is functionally illiterate, and they also vote by consensus, which is just par for the course in a one-party authoritarian rule Democrat state we live in. Now, folks, clearly, the best idea in a state running a $12 billion deficit and a city facing a $1 billion shortfall is to offer free, indefinite housing to people who aren't even supposed to be here in the first place because they immigrated illegally. What's happening in Los Angeles isn't just a budgetary disaster, it's a moral inversion. The law-abiding citizen, the working class landlord, the taxpayer. We're all being told to shut up and foot the bill while progressive institutions bend over backward to shield lawbreakers from the consequences of federal enforcement. And the rhetoric, well, it's just absurd. We're told that ICE is kidnapping people, that enforcing immigration law is somehow equivalent to racial profiling, and that public safety depends on dismantling the very concept of legal residency. This isn't compassion, by the way. It's chaos disguised as virtue. It's the result of decades of indoctrination through union-funded activism, identity-obsessed education, and a media class that can't distinguish between journalism and social justice cosplay. What this really shows is that the left no longer believes in borders, in sovereignty, or in any form of accountability. They believe in narrative. And if that narrative demands you lose your home while someone here illegally stays in it so that the left can continue pushing their neo-Marxist agenda, then so be it. Because in modern California, illegal status is a new protected class. And reality is whatever the loudest activists says it is. And speaking of loud activists, let's check in on New York and see how they are reacting to electing a North Korea-style communist to be the mayoral candidate for the Democrat Party.
And Iran is the last one standing, but fortunately Iran, can actually defend itself. I think Iran is actually powerful enough to win this thing. Even the Houthis basically chased away, Trump. So if Trump couldn't beat the Houthis, I don't know how delusional, he is, thinking that Israel can't either. Israel is lying about the fact that they have control of the airspace, whatever, to try and make it, to convince Trump that it's going to be an easy win. It's not going to be an easy win. I actually think Iran is going to win this.
And this woman speaks from experience, folks. She definitely knows a thing or two about delusion. But beyond The cringe of witnessing someone rooting for a terror-sponsoring regime to crush the country that gave her the freedom to express those ideas. What we're hearing is the logical endpoint of a culture that's been trained to hate itself. This isn't just one bitter paid activist, by the way, with a TikTok account. It's the product of decades of academic indoctrination, media narratives that cast America as the villain in every global conflict, and an immigration system that imports people faster than we can integrate them, even if we try. When national identity is framed as oppression and victimhood becomes currency, don't be surprised when the children of the system cheer for America's enemies. It's not about Iran winning. It's about the left losing any shred of national loyalty and people who are paid to espouse these ideas, doing it gleefully for a measly $200 paycheck. This is what happens when citizenship becomes transactional, when borders become optional, and when all of it is bankrolled by George Soros. And speaking of low IQ shamelessness, disgraced New York Congressman Jamal Bowman recently had a meltdown on CNN, and this is what he had to say.
Catholic pro-life ministries bombed.
We are not dealing with America's original sin and its disease of hate and racism towards black and brown people. And sexism towards women and anti-LGBTQ sentiment. We are not dealing with that. Your colleagues in the Republican Party do not hold each other accountable when it comes to the racism that comes from the party on a consistent basis.
Congressman, I mean, where are you on
You can't be calm about this. I'm a black man in America. The reason why heart disease...
I'm white, I can't comment
Listen to what I'm saying. The reason why heart disease and cancer and obesity and diabetes are bigger in the black community is because of the stress we carry from having to deal with being called the N-word directly or indirectly every day. If your colleagues would listen and try to learn and engage and grow and stop being so hateful, we could have a better country.
Jamal,
but unfortunately, we're still here.
Jamal, it's coming from one side.
Jamal, I feel your passion, and I understand where you're coming from, sincerely. I really, really do.
Do you?
It happens on both sides, Jamal. You might think it happens more on your side. Jamal, when I leave the show, Jamal, you should see my Twitter feed.
Why? And they're acquitted. Rodney King, Abner Louima, Eric Gardner, Trayvon Martin, black cops in Memphis. It's not the same. And I don't want to qualify or quantify pain. That's not what I'm talking about. Everyone goes through pain. But the racism in this country is the disease that will destroy us. And it's destroying us right now as we speak.
As you speak.
January 6th.
You're doing
Everybody was pardoned. Everybody's pardoned. Riots in L.A., they're insurrectionists. But we pardoned everyone January 6th.
So, Congressman,
this is America.
I was evacuated.
It must be truly exhausting to have to portray yourself as a perpetual victim from the comfort of a CNN studio, seated in a cushy chair, surrounded by hosts, terrified to disagree with you while cashing your CNN paycheck to repeat talking points that haven't evolved since 1968. I truly can't imagine the hardship Jamal Bowman must have to endure as he leaves the air-conditioned tower, CNN tower on 53rd Street, hops into his Uber Black and heads back to his Park Hyatt suite, all while lecturing America on the evils of oppression. But this isn't just about one man's delusions of grandeur. It's about an entire political strategy built on weaponizing historical pain to avoid accountability for present dysfunction, blaming the obesity crisis on heart disease rates in the black community on the N-word is not just lazy, it's frankly insulting. It erases decades of failed Democrat policies in urban communities, the collapse of the family, the glorification of unhealthy lifestyles. Remember, fat is beautiful? What happened to that, huh? And the complete absence of personal responsibility. What Bowman is doing is emotional blackmail dressed up as activism. It reflects a broader trend on the left, a reliance on trauma narratives to excuse failed leadership, deflect scrutiny, and silence dissent of any form. If everything is racism, then nothing has to be leadership. And that's exactly how the left likes it. And I mean, maybe they have a reason to make that choice. After all, some of their leadership includes people like Jasmine Crockett, apparently.
Let me tell you, just dropping those few bombs in one day, that was the beginning of what is going to be a very long bill for us as they talk about being efficient. There was nothing efficient about doing it. And maybe if there was some consultation, maybe with those that say have constitutional authority, since we care about the Constitution, then maybe we could have saved the American people not only money, but the lives that are now at risk as we have to put out warnings for American citizens in this country and abroad. Maybe we need to start leading with the people at the middle of what it is that is guiding us, instead of following one person. The reason that people like me say things like y'all are in a cult is because somehow people are abdicating their duties and abdicating the very people that put them into office.
Exactly, folks. Why didn't we stop everything and brief Jasmine Crockett before executing a top-secret surgical military strike on Iran? Because apparently, if a Democrat isn't consulted for their CNN soundbite or TikTok monologue, then it's unconstitutional. Never mind that this was one of the most tightly held operations in recent memory. No leaks, no media tips, just a rare display of strategic discipline from the federal government. But Crockett's issue isn't really about the Constitution or national security. It's about clout. She's frustrated because the government functioned without needing her input, which for someone who confuses visibility with actual value, it's unthinkable. And it's not just this moment, by the way. It's a pattern. The same week she ranted about being sidelined on the Iran thing, her own party quietly sidelined her too, voting her dead last in the race for oversight ranking member. Yes, folks, the same person the women of The View gush over as the future of the Democrat Party couldn't even get the support of her own party to get a ranking position in her own committee. It's never been more obvious that what we're witnessing is the implosion of style over substance politics. Loud voices with little credibility left out of real decisions and lashing out with empty buzzwords like cult to distract from their own irrelevance. The TikTok age of politics is definitely here, but it seems Crockett's friends in Congress want absolutely nothing to do with it, as well as the American people.
I wanted to jump on because obviously it's been bombs, missiles, all kinds of stuff. And to be clear, I've still not gotten any type of briefing. So just so y'all know, nobody's tried to call us in for a top secret briefing at all as whole sitting members of Congress, but you know, whatever. So I wanted to make sure that y'all knew that. So unfortunately, my information is not any more advanced than the information that you're getting, whether you're watching TV or if you're on social media.
Does this chick know when to stop talking? She keeps flashing her congressional pin like it grants her access to national security briefings between influencer collabs. Jasmine Crockett's public meltdown over not being looped into a classified military strike isn't just embarrassing, it's absolutely revealing. The very reason she wasn't briefed is the reason she's complaining. She treats governance like content and top secret information like potential engagement fodder. Crockett lamenting that she has no advanced info while broadcasting to 1.8 million followers is exactly why she doesn't have it. But this isn't just about one attention-seeking lawmaker. It reflects a deeper rot in our political culture where status is mistaken for competence and visibility for authority. We've built a system where clout-chasing morons like this are rewarded over quiet effectiveness, and now we're shocked when serious national security decisions are kept away from unserious people. Her exclusion wasn't partisan, it was protective. And the more Democrats elevate personalities like this, the more they erode their own credibility in national discourse. Anyway, all that being said, it's been a minute since we've heard from Joy Reid. She was fired from MSNBC, then completely evaporated into her podcast, which I guess appears somewhere. I don't know. I don't check. But anyway, she's back on CNN, and she's talking. I don't know if anybody's listening, though.
What Mamdani said that I thought was really extraordinary, he would be the first immigrant mayor of the preeminent immigrant capital in the United States, a city that is a sanctuary city where people are still being accosted at their immigration hearings. And so I think just symbolically, I think this is a message about people's revulsion in the treatment of immigrants by this administration, and about the ways in which the Adams administration has been complicit in that. I think that's part of what's made
New York City received nearly 250,000 illegal aliens at the height of the Biden immigration crisis. It got so out of control, they converted the historic Roosevelt Hotel, owned by the Pakistani government, into a taxpayer-funded migrant shelter, handing tens of millions to a foreign state while New Yorkers footed the bill. The city has spent over $3 billion on the crisis, including nearly $1 billion in hotel contracts alone. Roosevelt Island was also converted into a migrant shelter, bringing spikes in gang activity and crime, including members of the Venezuelan Tren de Aragua gang, who assaulted NYPD officers and were given a slap on the wrist by an activist judge, then quietly shipped out of town, only to be brought back later after public outrage. And then, when those migrant shelters inevitably overflowed, schools in Brooklyn and Queens were shut down and repurposed for migrant housing, forcing American-born children back into remote learning. So for Joy Reid and the radical left to frame Mamdani's win as a noble act of revulsion against immigrant mistreatment is not only delusional, it's gaslighting. The outrage isn't about compassion. It's about a city that abandoned its own citizens, weaponized identity politics, and handed over its infrastructure to chaos. And the fact that this collapse is being applauded by the media elite tells you everything you need to know about where their loyalties lie. Now, Joy's entire argument falls apart when you take into consideration the majority of Zohran Mamdani's support in the Democrat primary came not from the working class or struggling middle-income voters she claims to champion, but from affluent, college-educated, white liberal women, many earning over $250,000 annually, drawn to his radical, identity-driven messaging and virtue-signaling luxury beliefs, according to Politico. Meanwhile, the largest share of middle-class voters, those making around $50,000 a year, opted for Andrew Cuomo, signaling a clear fault line: economic security trumps ideological theatrics for the pragmatic majority. Now, what this split reveals is a Democrat Party fracture between an elite bubble enamored with symbolism and a base still anchored in everyday concerns. It's a cautionary tale. Radical branding may win headlines and clout, but when policy meets reality, it's the voters with real paychecks, it's the blue-collar voter who holds the key. And that's why so many of them are moving away from the left and towards the Republicans.
Do you feel like Jasmine Crockett should be the leading voice of the party?
Yes, and the thing is, what the Democrats do to me wrong is that they prioritize whose turn it is. Like, Democrats are very orderly. They're almost too orderly for fascism. You know, in fascism, you can't be orderly because the other side is messy. And Donald Trump stays messy. Everything he does is random, but it also exudes power. And in the case of Jasmine Crockett, a rational party facing actual fascism would say, who are our most effective voices? Who do the people listen to? Who do the people trust? Who do the people want to hear from? If it's Jasmine Crockett, we don't care who's in line. That's right. She's about to be the leader. We're going to put her as the head of whatever this committee is, make her the head of oversight, and put her on TV every day. But that isn't what Democrats do because they're orderly. And orderly is insufficient in the face of fascism.
You know, it's pretty ironic that Joy Reid is lecturing anyone about order when her own party refuses to hold real open presidential primaries, unless you count choreographed debates, DNC superdelegates, Debbie Wasserman Schultz pulling the rug from under Bernie to get Hillary the nomination, and Kamala Harris getting the DI nomination is democracy in action. But by all means, yes, please make Jasmine Crockett the face of your movement. Put her on TV every single day. Give her the oversight gavel. Please, we are begging you. The rest of us would love nothing more than to watch the Democrats pin their own hopes on a performative social media politician who just received the fewest votes from her own party for that exact role. Reid's logic is as warped as her ratings. She mistakes volume for trust, theatrics for leadership, and chaos for strength. What she's really advocating is the total surrender of institutional credibility in favor of raw emotion and viral outrage, because that's the only currency her side has left. But the American people see through it. And if Crockett becomes the Democrats' answer to Trump, it won't be fascism they'll be fighting. It'll be irrelevance. So ask yourself, who's really leading the country? The people we elected or the performers we promoted onto this political theater? What happens when leadership becomes a branding exercise and policy is just pretext for personal fame? We're living in an era where emotion trumps evidence, identity replaces integrity, and those with the least credibility are handed the loudest microphones. But power without wisdom is noise, and theatrics without truth is collapse. If this is the future the left is selling, an endless parade of outrage, grievance, viral sound bites, and straight up clown show, then maybe it's time to stop buying it. Because behind all the slogans and sob stories is a deeper truth most don't want to say out loud. America isn't falling apart because of fascism. Our country is falling apart because too many politicians are invested in maintaining their personal brand so they can get their next job up the chain than actually solving the problems that are affecting you every single day. Anyway, you tell me what you think in the comments down below. Hope you have a terrific day. Peace.